Samuel was a prophet. God talked to him. Samuel loved King Saul, but Saul disobeyed God. This made Samuel sad. Samuel had always been a faithful servant of God, and he had high hopes for Saul. He believed Saul would lead the people with wisdom and integrity. However, Saul's disobedience was a heavy burden on Samuel's heart. He felt a deep sense of loss and disappointment. Samuel spent many nights in prayer, seeking guidance and comfort from God. He wondered why Saul had turned away from God's commands and what the future held for the kingdom.
God told me to anoint a new king. It was a difficult message to receive. I had invested so much in Saul, but God's will was clear. I had to obey. God's voice was firm yet compassionate, reminding me that his plans are always for the greater good. I felt a mix of emotions, sadness for Saul, but also a sense of duty and purpose. I knew that God's choice would be the right one, even if I couldn't see it at the moment. He said, "Go to Jesse's house." The journey to Jesse's house was filled with anticipation and uncertainty. I traveled through the rugged terrain, my mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. I wondered who among Jesse's sons would be chosen by God. Each step I took was a step of faith, trusting in God's guidance. The road was long, but my resolve was strong. I knew that this mission was of utmost importance. One of his sons will be king. Jesse's house was bustling with activity. His sons were strong and capable, each one with their own unique qualities. As I looked at them, I felt a sense of awe and responsibility. Choosing a king was no small task. I prayed silently, asking God to reveal his chosen one. The sons stood before me, their eyes filled with curiosity and hope. I knew that God's wisdom would guide me to the right decision.
Samuel was scared. The weight of the task ahead was immense. What if I made the wrong choice? The fear of failure loomed over me. I knew that the future of the kingdom depended on this decision. My heart pounded with anxiety, but I reminded myself that God was with me. His presence was a source of comfort and strength. I took a deep breath and prepared to follow his lead. He wondered how he would know who to choose. The sons of Jesse were all impressive in their own ways. How could I discern who was the right one? I pondered deeply, seeking clarity and wisdom. I knew that outward appearances could be deceiving. I needed to look beyond the surface and see what God saw. My mind was filled with questions, but I trusted that God would provide the answers. God promised to guide him. In my moments of doubt, God's promise was a beacon of hope. He assured me that he would be with me every step of the way. His guidance was unwavering and his wisdom was infinite. I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I knew that I was not alone in this journey. God's promise gave me the courage to move forward with confidence. God reminded him that he looks at the heart, not the outward appearance. This reminder was profound. It shifted my perspective and gave me a new understanding of what truly mattered. God's ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. I realized that the true measure of a person is found in their heart. With this revelation, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was ready to fulfill God's command and anoint the new king. Samuel went to Bethlehem. The elders of the town were afraid. They asked, "Do you come in peace?"
Yes, I come to offer a sacrifice to the Lord.
He invited Jesse and his sons to join the sacrifice. Samuel could feel the weight of his mission. He knew God had chosen one of Jesse's sons, but which one? Jesse presented his sons to Samuel. First came Eliab. He was tall and handsome.
Surely, this is the one.
But God said, "No, do not look at his appearance. I look at the heart." One by one, Jesse presented his sons. God rejected each one. Samuel was puzzled.
Are these all your sons?
There is one more, the youngest. He is tending the sheep.
Send for him.
David was brought in from the fields. He was a young shepherd, ruddy and handsome, with beautiful eyes.
This is the one. Anoint him.
Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed David in front of his brothers. The Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David and remained with him. Meanwhile, King Saul was troubled. An evil spirit tormented him. Saul's servants suggested finding a skilled musician to soothe him. They knew music could calm the king's heart.
One of the servants knew of a young man named David. He is a brave warrior, the servant said, and a skilled musician. They recommended David to Saul.
David was a man after God's own heart. He was a brave warrior. He was a skilled musician. He knew how to play the harp. He was also a responsible shepherd, caring for his father's sheep. David's life was filled with purpose and faith. He trusted God completely. This trust would guide him through many challenges. Saul summoned David to the palace. David's music soothed Saul's troubled spirit. Whenever the evil spirit troubled Saul, David would play his harp. Saul found peace and relief in David's music. He grew fond of David and made him his armor-bearer. David's music was a gift from God. It had the power to heal and bring peace. This gift made him valuable to the troubled king. Section 8. Inner qualities valued by God. The story of David teaches us that God values inner qualities over outward appearances. David, a young shepherd boy, was chosen by God to be the future king of Israel, not because of his physical stature or his outward appearance, but because of the qualities he possessed within. He was a humble shepherd, tending to his flock with care and dedication, showing a deep sense of responsibility and compassion. Samuel was impressed by Eliab's height and good looks, thinking that surely this must be the Lord's anointed. Eliab, with his impressive stature and commanding presence, seemed like the perfect candidate for kingship in the eyes of men. But God reminded him, the Lord does not look at the things people look at. God's perspective is vastly different from ours. While humans are often swayed by what they see on the outside, God looks deeper, into the very essence of a person. People look at the outward appearance, judging by what they can see with their eyes. They are often influenced by physical beauty, strength, and other external attributes. But the Lord looks at the heart. God saw David's courage, his faith, and his humility. These were the qualities that truly mattered. David's heart was pure, his faith unwavering, and his courage unmatched. He trusted in God completely, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges. These qualities made him fit to be king, not his physical appearance. It was David's inner strength, his unwavering faith in God, and his humble spirit that set him apart. God chose David because he saw a man who would lead with integrity, compassion, and a heart aligned with his own. This story reminds us that what truly matters to God is not how we look on the outside, but who we are on the inside. Our character, our faith, and our humility are what make us valuable in the eyes of God. When David faced Goliath, it was not his physical prowess that won the battle, but his faith in God. Armed with just a sling and a few stones, David's courage and trust in the Lord led him to victory. This act of bravery was a testament to the inner qualities that God valued so highly in him. When Samuel anointed David, it was a divine acknowledgement of these inner qualities. The anointing was a symbol of God's favor and a recognition of David's heart. It was a moment that signified God's choice, based not on outward appearances, but on the purity and strength of David's character. David's life continued to reflect these inner qualities. As a musician, he played the harp to soothe King Saul, showing his gentle spirit and his ability to bring peace through his music. His psalms, filled with praise and worship, revealed his deep connection with God and his unwavering faith. As a king, David led his people with wisdom and justice. His reign was marked by his dedication to God and his commitment to serving his people. He was not perfect, but his heart was always turned towards God, seeking forgiveness and striving to do what was right. The story of David is a powerful reminder for us today. It teaches us that God values our inner qualities above all else. In a world that often emphasizes outward appearances, we are called to cultivate a heart that reflects God's love, faith, and humility. By focusing on our inner qualities, we can live a life that is pleasing to God and make a positive impact on those around us. Let us strive to develop the qualities that God values, knowing that it is our heart that truly matters. Just as David was chosen for his inner strength and faith, we too can be chosen by God to fulfill his purpose when we align our hearts with his. The story of David is a timeless lesson in the importance of inner qualities. It encourages us to look beyond the surface and to value what is truly important in ourselves and in others. By embracing the qualities that God values, we can live a life that honors him and reflects his love to the world. Section 9. The Power of Faith. David's faith in God was evident throughout his life. He faced lions and bears while protecting his sheep, yet he remained unafraid. He knew God was with him. This faith gave him strength and courage. David's story reminds us that with faith in God, we can overcome any challenge. His story inspires us to trust in God's plan, even when we don't fully understand it. Section 10. The Importance of Obedience. Both Samuel and David demonstrated obedience to God. Samuel, despite his fear, obeyed God's command to anoint a new king. David, though just a shepherd boy, accepted God's call on his life. Their obedience highlights the importance of following God's will, even when it's difficult or uncertain. Their actions teach us that true faith is demonstrated through obedience. Section 11. David's Destiny. David's anointing marked the beginning of his incredible journey. It was a moment that would change not only his life, but the course of history. The young shepherd boy, who was the youngest of his brothers, was chosen by God for a purpose far greater than anyone could have imagined. Samuel the prophet poured oil on David's head, signifying God's blessing and the start of a divine mission. He would face many challenges and triumphs, each one shaping him into the leader he was destined to become. From the moment he stood bravely against the giant Goliath, armed with nothing but a sling and a few stones, David's courage and faith were evident. His victory over Goliath was not just a personal triumph but a symbol of God's power working through him. However, his journey was far from easy. David had to flee from King Saul, who saw him as a threat to his throne. During these times of hardship, David's faith was his anchor. He often turned to prayer, seeking guidance and strength from God. Ultimately, David became one of the greatest kings of Israel. His reign was marked by justice, wisdom, and a deep devotion to God. As king, David united the tribes of Israel and established Jerusalem as the nation's capital. He led his people with a heart of a shepherd, always mindful of their needs and God's commandments. His leadership brought prosperity and peace to the land, and his legacy as a ruler is remembered with great reverence. His story continues to inspire us today, reminding us of the power of faith and the importance of trusting in God's plan. The ancient texts that recount David's life are not just historical records, but sources of spiritual wisdom. They teach us about the virtues of courage, humility, and devotion. People gather in worship, reflecting on David's journey and drawing strength from his example. His life is a testament to the enduring power of faith and the impact one person can have when they follow God's calling, reminding us that God can use anyone, regardless of their background, to fulfill his purposes. David was a simple shepherd, yet he was chosen to be a king. This powerful message resonates through the ages, encouraging us to believe in our potential and God's plan for our lives. Whether we come from humble beginnings or face seemingly insurmountable challenges, David's story assures us that with faith and perseverance we can achieve great things. Communities throughout history have gathered to celebrate and learn from David's life, finding hope and inspiration in his journey.
The tale of David's anointing is a testament to God's power and his love for us. It shows that God sees beyond our outward appearances and recognizes our true potential. The sacred texts and artifacts that have been preserved over the centuries serve as reminders of this divine truth. They connect us to the past and the timeless lessons that David's life imparts, and his plan to use ordinary people to do extraordinary things. David's story is a powerful reminder that greatness often comes from the most unexpected places. The shepherd boy who became a king exemplifies how God can transform our lives in ways we never imagined. As we reflect on David's destiny, we are encouraged to embrace our own journeys with faith and trust in God's plan for us.